I'm Melissa Lucia, and we are here to talk about one of my favorite subjects. Well, creative manifestation on any level is one of my favorite subjects, but this is one of the pieces, one of the nuances, one of the channels of how you work with magic, how you bring through visionary, interesting, fascinating, strange, bizarre, wonderful things in your life in all sorts of ways. And so what we're going to talk about today is out of left field. Out of left field. I literally always kind of feel like it's this like mercurial sort of energy swooping in from somewhere else. I have this visceral energy flow about it. And this offering, this talk, is also going to give you a taste of the Deep Play course, which is a 10-month-long online course about activating access to your unique magic. It's an amazing journey. I'll tell you more about it at the end specifically. And it's all about activating access. It's all about how do you awaken the channels to being able to trust yourself. Trust the messages, decipher the messages, trust the journey. Like, how do you set up in your life more access to the enchantment? It's like animism. Everything is alive and it wants to play with you. That's my belief. But most of us as adults have so many wounds and constrictions that we don't know how to access it, that we're just really stuck. Containers of conditioning, as Matt Kahn would say. We're containers of conditioning as adults. As kids, we were freer, but the stuff started to happen when we were kids that made it harder for us to get the fuck out of the way of all of this magic. And so my goal in life, because I need it, I do this because I need it, because I really struggle. I'm an extreme empath. I basically really, unless I'm going to go into nature or like people that I really like, people's houses and things, I really don't want to leave the house because the world is really loud and really wounded. And when you feel it like an acid trip, which you all will too on some level, you highly sensitive people, you intuitives, you creatives, you seers, you visionaries, you oracles, you witches, all of you who are here, it's hard right now. And so we need the antidote. We need the thing that helps to get us out of bed, that reminds us that life has beauty, even in the brutality, that life is amazing. And it's this activating access to the joy and the passion. That's why I get out of bed. So out of left field, we are going to talk about that. And why are we going to talk about out of left field and what is it? And I think, let's see, do I have 3 or 4? This is so funny. I'm a Post-it girl. Love Post-its. I think I have 4. There's 4 different aspects of out of left field that I'm going to talk about. And it's going to help you understand how to open to some more magic, and how paradoxical and similar to a Zen cone that life is. Basically, it's empty to be full. Zen cones are these massive paradoxes that basically a riddle that your brain can't figure out, but you just have to like feel. You have to intuit. And so out of left field is this thing that's amazing, because it's something that your ego or your consciousness or your insecurities or even your ideas of what could happen, your desires, didn't conjure, because it's so unanticipated. It's something that's really strange. Small is mighty as part of this. It might look kind of small and insignificant or odd. And in that lies the opening to something that will change everything. But it's not something that you tried to make with your limited, beautiful, clay-footed, earthly perspective. It's something, to me, once again, that the world is alive, muses are real, energy is real. It's something that comes from that collective unconscious, the void, the creativity of all that is. And it's something that's an idea that's alive, that wants to play with you. Now, you'll decide if you will, but when it comes, it's like a strike of lightning, but it can be quiet. So don't think God's hands are gonna clap, because sometimes it has to be sneaky. It's a sneaker transformation, because you'd be too afraid of what it was gonna change. But it's something you didn't see coming. And then when it shows up, you have to decide if you want to commit to it, if you want to go for it. But so I'm going to give you some pointers on how to navigate all of this. And this, as I said, weaves into the Deep Play course next year, the online course about divine timing and creative manifestation, because this is one of the pieces of creative manifestation, is cultivating your ability to have things come out of left field, cultivating this ability to recognize the things that you are to follow, the things that are yours, and cultivating the ability and the confidence and the courage to follow the unknown path and go do this thing, do the thing. And it can be anything. In other videos, I make jokes and I say, could be burlesque, could be mahjong, could be fly fishing, it could be tarot, it could be tarot. It could be that you want to start doing tattoos, or that you want to get into shibari, or I don't know what it is, but it's something that wants you, and it wants to co-create with you, and it wants to help you become more authentically yourself, because that's what we're doing. We're integrating to become the most authentic versions of ourselves, to bring the pieces that are in different zip codes that need some soul retrieval and bring those things back. So before I get into these 4 parts, I want to honor my ancestors. We're right around the Samhain time. We're a little bit past Muertos time, but this is an honoring to my ancestors. My mom, who passed a year ago, and the Germans, the Norwegians, the Finns, the Swedes, and the Russians, and the earth. I really belong to the earth. So let's get this party started right. Okay, I'm gonna do a pause. You're gonna get a little placket that tells you what this first one is. Let's do this. Okay, out of left field. The first one, the first tenet of recognizing and working with the out of left field magic. So the first one is what comes towards you. And that it sounds simple, and it could be, but we're all distracted. Social media has brought people's distractions to a level that's unbelievable, and it's completely designed to do that, to distract you and to get you to buy things. And so what comes towards you, it's about these things that you didn't recognize were yours, but they come knocking at your door. They come and say, hey, I'm yours, I want to play. But because you may have lots of ideas about who you are and who you aren't, and you also may not have caught up with who you are, that's a huge piece of transformation, is even when you may have been working towards things and coming into some new spaces, we're so habituated that we tend to get kind of stuck in the grooves of the record, the old grooves, when we could have like a whole new turntable and a whole new record. So this piece about what comes towards you, let's see if I'm missing a piece. So it's, your life is not, I don't think life is random. We do have free will. So we do, it's not just heaped on us. We are co-creating here. So, we are part of the game board for sure. But also there are things that are destined in your life. I mean, I believe that before we incarnated, we said, I want to learn these big lessons. I want to learn about trust. I want to learn about love. I want to learn about self-empowerment. There were these big issues that we wanted to learn about. Well, when you come down here, and then I believe we have allies up there who said, I'll come down there and help you do it. Now, here's the thing. It looks like betrayal down here sometimes, because the thing is, to learn the love, to learn the trust, to learn the faith, to learn the power on the earth plane, you got to go with the polarity of it. You got to go with the opposite of it, usually. to help you anchor in and transform into the peace that's the empowered peace. And so, and it's like I said, it's not always true, but there is this piece about, you know, to learn faith, you have to know what it feels like to be faithless, to feel lost, to just feel like you're in the void and you don't know what's happening. And so these predetermined destinies, I feel things are scheduled and things will come to you. And sometimes they'll have to come back because you weren't ready. That's the free will. Sometimes we're not ready, and that's okay. And I think most of the time, if it's totally your destiny, it will come back. It'll just come back in a different form. But so you need to be aware of these things that are coming towards you. They're invitations, and they can come from people. They can come from signs and synchronicities, you know, books that fall off shelves, you overhearing someone, watching a TV show. But it all has animation. The things that are yours that come towards you, how you recognize them is that they have some spark. And that's a whole lifelong apprenticeship to how you know what's yours and how to follow it. And so I'm going to give 2 examples of this, of how to flow with the creative potentials that want to play with you instead of fighting them. So the first one is horses. And whenever you see me offer something, usually I mention this because it was absolutely watershed moment, total game changer in my life. But I was living in Seattle, and my husband had died, and I was completely shattered. I didn't want to live. And this whole journey happened where horses came into my life, and I was in my early 30s, and I didn't see the horses coming. Now, I belonged to the horses for forever, but there's sort of these sacred blocks, like sort of those horse things where the horse has to focus on things, these sacred blocks. I didn't realize it. And so it grew, and I felt the sparkles, and there were important allies, which we'll get to in a minute, who helped me realize this. But the horses ended up changing everything. I ended up moving to a horse ranch in Texas. Liberal woman from the Pacific Northwest moving to a horse ranch in Texas. That is moving to Mars. But it was exactly what my soul wanted, and it opened up everything. So horses. The recent one is toys. So I make sacred tools for adults. I have 7 decks, indie decks that I sell now, including the Oracle of Initiation. And my background's in early childhood education. I was a nanny for years, and when I was younger, I loved kids and I wanted kids. Now I really want to work with adults, even though I think kids are closer to God. Like they incarnated with less time to forget, and so they really are, but they take a certain sort of patience. Bless you, kids. So toys for children hadn't occurred to me that that would be perfect, even though literally every crossroads in my life, every road leads to that. But on Instagram, there was this ad that was about how to do a toy pitch with mats, make art that sells. And I saw it, and every cell in my body lit up. And I went, there's a class that teaches you how to like pitch a design for a toy? And I went, what the fuck? And I took the class, and it was epic. Thank you, Lila and Riley. And it came out of left field. And then all these other strings and pieces that have been floating around, some of them for 10 years, went, we're coming in here. And it's just like, I'm still trying to find time to really give it what it deserves with the other things I've already committed to. Out of left field. Instagram ad. God bless Instagram ads. So what comes towards you? What's coming towards you? And are you accepting the invitation? Back with part 2. Part 2, without a left field. So this is helping hands. Helping hands. Think of the aces in the tarot, and those hands that are coming down, the hands of spirit, the hands of the muses. So helping hands can be both spirits, the unseen ones, and then a lot of times it's the earth plane people. It's the people who see you, who get you, because once again, back to the blinders. I don't even know why it is that we adults have so many blinders on. about who we really are and our value. People who come to see my stuff, you're all empaths, you're all intuitives, you're creatives, you're people who are already feeling things in the world to a degree that's, I don't think is the norm actually. I think it's a certain percentage of people that feel things this innately, this instinctive, this intuitively. But in navigating the world, there seems to be something with our people where a lot of insecurities and vulnerabilities have happened, where it's this real arc to come into our own power and our own confidence. And for me, it's literally the most amazing thing that's ever happened in my life when I came into my own power. But it took my husband dying of cancer and my whole life blowing up, and then this 7-year vision quest to have this happen. And aging's helped me a lot, actually, to be honest. Aging has been really good for me overall. And so this helping hands, other people will see you in a way that you might not be able to see at this point. Again, catching up with yourself, that you may have evolved to such a degree that you haven't caught up. And that's also why you need people who are really on your team around you, to be very careful who you have around you. Some of y'all have some people around you who need to go, who don't support you. You know what I'm talking about, and you're too afraid to change it right now. But deep play is a sort of thing that will change your calibration, where you will not tolerate those things. You will not tolerate people. You will have boundaries, sacred boundaries. Because people who are very intuitive sometimes have people around them who have lots of issues, and they want to feed off you. Oh, hell no. So, helping hands, people we want around. 2 examples. When I was a youngin', when I was a teenager, I had some friends. That's a longer story. It's just one of the relationships actually was very complicated. So it's interesting. Even your frenemies sometimes can can show you who you are. But I was 18 and wondering what to do with my life. And I'd been a nanny for many years, and I lived in Seattle. And I wasn't quite sure. I knew I wanted to go to school, but I wasn't quite sure what to do. So my friend at the time, she mirrored back to me who she was. And it was so close. That's the thing. Sometimes things are also so close, you can't see them. So she said to me, hey, Em, you love kids. Why don't you study early childhood education? Like, of course. Why shouldn't I study early childhood education? And I loved it because I love research. I love studying things. And then I love the embodiment of it. I love the physical practice of it. And so studying early child education in Seattle, it was in the studio where all the kids were, the play space. It both I could put into practice all these things I was learning, and I got to interface with all these kids, and it was amazing. It was exactly what I needed. Didn't see it. Didn't freaking see it. Second example, this is my dear friend Whitney Freya, who's going to be one of the presenters in Deep Play next year. Love Whitney, amazing. She's a creativity coach, and this was years ago. She'd had opened in Nashville an art studio, and was doing her own arc of trusting that she was an artist. And she's an amazing creature, so brave and so inspiring. And a woman, I want to say from South Africa, that can't remember how she connected with the woman, but this woman basically, I think must have emailed her and said, hey, I want you to be my creativity coach. I want you to be my guide. Now, Whitney had been doing classes at this center and doing those sorts of things. Didn't occur to her to be a creativity coach for somebody and guide them through this process of owning their power around their artistic and visionary potentials. But when the woman said it, it started to work on her. It starts to work on you, because you might not take it instantaneously, but it starts to work on you. It started to work on Whitney. And then now Whitney's trained hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of coaches, and she's phenomenal at it. She's phenomenal at it. This woman that she didn't really know called her out. So look for your helping hands and figure out if they're the ones that you are to follow. figure out if you're going to accept that invitation. Okay, I'm going to go on to part 3. Okay, part 3, out of left field, the power of not knowing. Okay, this is essential. Essential. Big red stars around this one. If you're going to go into really creative spaces, really intuitive spaces, really visionary spaces, you're going to have to embrace the unknown. The unknown is where all the really interesting things happen. The unknown is where potentials that you never saw coming together slam together and create something that's totally new. It's the place that you have to dive into. You have to trust it. You have to embrace it. There's no other way. And if you don't want a really creative life, then don't. Please don't. Go somewhere else. Here, we are embracing change. We're embracing the unknown. We're embracing a path that beckons us. We need to know the path wants us, and we want the path, but we don't know what the outcome is going to be. We don't have an objective other than maybe more empowerment and more joy and more connection. That's cool. But this power of not knowing, and a lot of, there's that, I love that quote, what's the space between what you think and what you know? And don't believe everything you think. So back to the containers of conditioning. We've all inherited and absorbed, and this is so many generations. This is a long time, but epigenetics, we've all inherited so much disassociation, so much fear, so much shame. There's so much that we've inherited, and so many generations where there's been so much trauma. It's true. It's true for all of us, and all of the lives that you've lived, and all of the kin that you've been part of. And so part of what we're having to do is really rewire the system. And in rewiring the system, it's this ability to trust and this ability to be fed by what comes through channels that you didn't anticipate. This is an apprenticeship. It's part of why the Deep Play program is 10 months long, is because it takes some time to anchor things in and go through arcs. You might have at a weekend workshop an epiphany and a real shift, but then you got to take it back to the streets. You got to take it back to your home. You got to integrate that. And so it's this journey about getting out of the way of your fears and your anxieties and your ideas of how the world works. And there probably a lot of them are wrong. And what's possible. And honoring yourself and being tender to yourself during that. Because this is, the thing is, when you're going for joy and passion and sacred play, you're going to slam up against where you haven't been there and your grief. That's true. That's why the course is called Deep Play, is because keeping it real, this is really deep transformation. This is an activation. This is a total metamorphosis that you're stepping into. So we're going to go at it through creative, joyful, playful experiences, but it's going to be the whole arc of experience. So three examples. Once again, just very shortly, the horses. I didn't, as an adult, know anything about horses. So I was in my mid-30s. So I didn't have an expectation. And with the horses, it wasn't about riding. That's not what it was about. It was about this interface with these unbelievable energetic beings who, some of the horses are willing to literally be shamans and mirror back who you are and help you claim your power. Another example, so I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in a family of artists and designers, and my dad is a glass artist, worked with Chihuly for years. I worked for Chihuly, And what the glass art movement did here in the United States was that they went on this really visionary, innovative path, because blown glass historically was done in factories, and it was done to create a beautiful goblet or something that was very symmetrical and very specific and very honed over and over and over again. It was not something that the general public had access to. You know, this was something that you apprenticed to, and this was your job, and you went in every day and you blew these beautiful goblets, and that's what you did. And there wasn't a lot of space for individual creativity in it. It was a factory sort of a situation. And in the late 60s, Harvey Littleton and some other folks, and Chihuly eventually, decided to bring it out of those cloistered factories and play with it themselves and make their own glass studios and have their own glory holes with the molten glass and experiment and not have an expectation that you're going to make the same thing and that you're going to make this perfect thing. And it just blew open the possibilities of this very, very old craft. And it brought this level of innovation and magic and inspiration that to this day is extraordinary. So they didn't have an expectation of what it should be, and they took some ownership and they flew with it. Amazing. Third example, short example, I was listening to the Beastie Boys, love the Beastie Boys, hip hop head, and the Beastie Boys book. If you love the Beasties, go listen on Audibles to the Beastie Boys book. It's phenomenal, and because you want to hear the people read the parts. It's amazing. And the Beasties, you know, they had that initial record that was this surprising hit, and then felt like they got kind of trapped in like this frat boy channel, which was the antithesis of what these hipster punk rock hip hop New York dudes were. And they decided then over, you know, the next bunch of records that they made that they were going to really experiment and move beyond. That was also samples, where it was getting complicated to use samples, like they had in Paul's Boutique in the first album, but particularly Paul's Boutique. But they started using instruments and things, and they sucked. They sucked at first, but they wanted to get to the core and make something that was totally their content, totally coming from them. And that was a whole arc, a whole journey for them. And so once again, partially out of need and partially out of desire, they found this whole new channel and made some really interesting music. So it's number 2, three. I can't count today. I didn't tell you I could count. Part 3. Now we're going to go to part 4. See, I can count now. Okay. 4. Trust the journey. You're going to have what you need when you need it. So this can be ninja level work, to be really honest with you. And I think everybody bounces in and out of it. I sure bounce in and out of it. There's some days where I totally trust, and there's some days where I go, where's the income? So please don't, with any of this, don't get perfectionistic with it. I'm a recovering perfectionist. It's part of what we're battling here. Is these ideas of control, of ownership, of power over. This is really moving into a space of co-creation, of collaboration, of communion, of connection. This is moving into this space of having enough experiences where you can trust your instincts, be obedient to your instincts. This is huge. And this is really what the path is, honestly. You know, like we can play and we'll do some cool things and it's really fun. But really what we want to get out of all of this is that you trust yourself and how you navigate the world. It's what I want out of it. And that you have less worry and stress and self-questioning, that there is more, yes, please, yes, please, yes, please, and more really dynamic things that are happening in your life. I mean, you know, that's why I get out of bed, is because it's what am I going to create today? Who's going to come play with me? What inspiration is going to come through? What magical, like all of this back here, what magical, sacred, fascinating thing or beings are going to say, hey, let's come play today. Let's have a play date. That's the reason to be alive. That is some of the antidote to the anxiety and depression and fatigue and overwhelm and helplessness that we all have right now. All of us. So it's And there's this really essential piece about confidence and enoughness and trusting that what resources you have, there's some reason for it. Because also being really visionary and intuitive and creative, there is the necessity of initiations. There is the necessity sometimes of not having what you need so that you need to innovate. I mean, really, honestly, creativity, a lot of amazing creativity comes out of a space of lack, but not that miasm in the culture that's like this overwhelming, shameful, not enoughness, but this sort of, I have to MacGyver it. I have to figure out how to work with what I have here. Like, that's where the real creativity comes. We're gonna, in the Deep Play course, we're gonna talk about Ma. And Ma this is an Asian term, which I probably can only partially understand because I'm very Western. I grew up in the United States, but I grok it. And it's really like the space between things, and you know, Sumi painting and a lot of back to the Zen cone thing. I know that that's essential for us, and I'm expanding to really be able to embody and understand it. But Ma is this thing about the synergy between things, like what's in between that void that has so much power. Love it. So that's I feel like part of trusting the journey. And so the example that I'll use is that I after my husband died from cancer, he was 37, I was 33. And I wanted kids and I wanted a family, and he was an awesome guy. God, he was a gift. He was just a straight up gift. You know, that whole thing about you magnetize exactly what your resonance is? No. Sometimes you fucking don't. Sometimes the universe just says, bam, you're getting a present. You're getting a gift. This is yours. Now, if you receive it, that's a whole nother thing. But Chris was one of the healthiest people I've ever met. And I was not when I met him, but he was an angel. He was an angel who was sent down to love me and have me come into myself some more and see what it felt like to be loved. Bam. So over those 7 years that after Chris died, when I went on this journey and moved to a horse ranch in Texas and traveled around the world and did these 70,000 ritualistic photos on the land nude, and then painted. There was 2 bodies of work, but for the 70,000. But there was this whole, over and over and over again, there were these people that would show up, these experiences that trained me. It trained me. Those 70,000 images being nude on the land trained me to trust. Now, I don't expect that any of you are going to do 70,000 nude photos on the land, but you're going to need to do something that takes you out of your comfort zone, that has you commit to exploring your magic, that has you open to how intuitive you are. You're going to have to do something that anchors in the confidence, because that's the main issue that creatives and woo-woos have. The main issue, artists, creatives, woo-woos, intuitives, seers, is there's just something where we need to anchor in our confidence. And I know, because it was after 40 for me when mine really anchored in. And this whole journey with Chris, it was after Chris died. Whole journey, that was it. That's why I'm the teacher now. Because I learned it without perfectionism. I learned how to trust the journey. Most days. Keeping it real. Every once in a while, there's a day where I have to pray. Spirits, remind me who I am. I'm a divine being of love and light, and I have, vast power to co-create. Some days I have to do that prayer, because some days, well, I'm in menopause too, so the hormones. But there's this piece where you have to have some experiences to have you anchor in your trust and your confidence, and you need people around you who help you to trust that. You need to, as I've been saying, activate access. You have to activate access to these channels of inspiration and joy and play and magic and the unknown. And then you got to go down these rabbit holes. You got to go down them and down them and down them. And then after a while, you start to recognize sometimes when the challenges come that they're going to yield some gifts if you can figure it out. You start to recognize that you have more courage than you used to have. You start to recognize that you have people around you who are supporting you in a way that you maybe didn't. So that's all the yums about out of left field. And I want to talk to you about deep play. I want to talk to you about what is deep play, and why do we want to do it? And why do you want to come along and play with the group that's gathering, the amazing group that's gathering for the third year of these shenanigans, these sacred play shenanigans. So I'm going to give you another placket so you can have a breather, and then we'll go into deep play. Mellissae, Lucia. Hey, I'm back. So deep play. So deep play is this course that actually came out of left field for me 3 years ago. It was late fall, 3 year, I can't do math right now. Right before the COVID stuff happened, so 19. Late fall 2019. And I just woke up one morning and I was told, you need to do, basically a year, it's not quite a year, but a year-long course about sacred play, deep play. And I went, because I get messages. I went, oh, okay. And I've done it 2 years. We're going at 3. It's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. The people have gathered, what we've done, the shifts that have happened in all of us. So you need to give the universe a signals that you're ready for more, and then you need to accept them. And so in doing the deep play course, this is going to be the signal that you want to activate more access. This is a signal that you want to play, and that you're going to find the courage, and that you're going to keep moving ahead and trust, be obedient to your instincts, trust your instincts. And the deep play course is the container. It's the motivation. It's the community of people who are really fun and really lovely and are going to mirror back who you are and inspire you. And so all of these things, you're going to get the support, and it's going to calibrate you. I mean, that's really the thing that it is. And some of the ways, so just, I'll go through this kind of quickly, but like the pieces that I just went through with out of left field, with the deep play course, it's things that come towards you. You get these incredible packets of materials. Like your inner child will lose their shit in the best of ways, your inner child and adolescent. You get these packets 4 times a year of the materials that we'll be using, and the packets are totally individual to each person. And so these will be things that will be coming towards you with intention that I have gathered for you, that are to awaken you and give you signs and inspire you. And so that's what some of this comes towards you. It's like the universe sending you the magical care package. Helping hands and not knowing. So you're entering this container that's designed to support you, to animate you, to motivate you. It's an attunement, like it's a transmission when you come in. So I'm a helping hands. The people who are other playmates are helping hands. And then the universe is going to come and meet you, because when you stand up and say, hey, I'm open for something, it will show up. Now, if you're so shut down that you have a hard time seeing the signs, the course will help you to see those signs and those synchronicities. And then the fourth part, this about trusting the journey. So you're really, this is like a vow. It's a commitment to saying that you want to open up to this fertile field of potential, and that you're willing to do this. That it's again, it's all basically like a Kmart blue light special. Some of you probably aren't old enough to know what that is, but at Kmart, at the store Kmart, when they were having some special thing, turkey platters for Thanksgiving, they'd have this blue light in the store that go woo, woo, woo. This is your blue light special to animate things. And part of what we need right now is sanctuary in the storm, because it's so intense. And we need community. We need people who are fun and playful and loving and interesting to inspire us. The dialogue that you're going to have and who you're going to hang out with is super, super important. Who do you want to be on this journey with? I'll tell you, these deep play people who come to play, the other teachers, and myself. I'm a master at activating access. Master. And I'll help guide you in this. So this is like the best treasure hunt ever. And we're going to flow, not fight with what's available. And we're going to trust our instincts. And so Deep Play this year, every year there's a theme. It's going to be about divine timing and creative manifestation. So it's going to be about these different arcs, these different pieces of what living a creative life is, and how you embrace that. And there's 4 different modules, pieces, attunements that we will go through that will build on each other to have us to anchor in more of this self-trust and to have a more fascinating, amazing, creative, enchanted life. So the 4 pieces. So at first we're going to do inspired clutter clearing. So inspired clutter clearing is about how we have all of these old programs in us that need to go, these tribal trances, these societal spells, and you need to be able to hear yourself enough and know your own voices to be able to trust the journey. You need to trust the messages and deciphering them that are coming through. So we got to clutter clear first. Then we're opening your channels. So then when you do start to be able to hear the messages and trust them, we want to open more to that. Honing your instincts, so that then this is the apprenticeship of trusting the journey and going through more of it, so that you're anchoring in more of your courage and confidence. You're feeding your courage bank account, as I call it. And then the final piece is about creative congruence, because congruence is really what we're going for. We're going for this integration of all of the pieces that we are, and honoring that, and like being real in that. You know, as I've said, this is not a perfectionist space. This is a space where we're very tender and loving to ourselves, and it's a space that we're kind and we're patient with who we are, and in not being perfectionistic, we're honoring the fullness of who we are and keeping it real. And we're human, so we have, like, I'm excitable, but I'm also impatient. Like, I can be really impatient, and I honor that. I honor that that's part of who I am, and I try to, you know, manage it, but it's just part of the characteristics that I got, and it's true for you too. So those are the 4 parts that will be happening. And so the setup of the course is that we're going to do calls twice a month. So there will be 18 calls total that the group will be part of. Those will be Saturday mornings, so that the people in the States, and there's a lot of international people, everybody will be able to come play. So there's the calls, there's the 4 quadrants of content that I was just speaking of, that will have all sorts of really interesting embodied creative art practices and oracle practices, and really things to have you trust your instincts. And then there's the pieces about the community, the essential echo chambers, your community, amazing other teachers that are being gathered. They add to the community and other voices about sacred play and divine timing. I'm so excited about who's playing this year. We have a Facebook group, private Facebook group. And then there's the stuff. God, I love this stuff. So my inner child, you know, part of what I do is, as I've said, I need this deep play. I need you as playmates. I do this selfishly so that you all help remind me on those days that maybe I'm overly anxious or feeling kind of insecure, or, you know, having doubt or whatever it is. You guys, the community that I get to play with, that I guide, you guys make my life worth living. And so these things that come, this stuff, my inner child wants to, like, offer you what, if we were little kids, we would have wanted more than anything. These talismanic, sacred, magical, enchanted little items. And it's cards, and it's dice, and it's like vintage toy pieces, and it's all sorts of things, song lyrics, and we just don't even, elemental items. And so I design these processes, and every person gets a unique packet, because a lot of things I get at thrift stores, because I'm a thrift store fanatic, sacred treasure hunt. So these things that you get will have you have something to look forward to, along with all of the other pieces. There's nothing else out there combining all of this, combining art and oracles and these materials and this community and the experience that I bring. Nothing out there. So if you're wanting something that's out of the box and going to take your divination and your magic and your trust to new levels, this is really the thing that you want. And you know, this is about navigating divine timing and finding your own flows, finding what's unique for you, and trusting those arcs, because anything creative has its own arcs and its own journeys and its own pitfalls and its own challenges. You have to learn how to trust that. And this is also about relaxation and rest. Like, this is a sacred space. This is a sanctuary, as I said, with the people and also the playtime. If you don't know about it, if you're on Instagram, Nap Ministry is amazing. And they're talking about rest as rebellion and as justice, social justice. It's a woman down in Atlanta. I don't know how big the group is, but the woman is the spokesperson. And about how rest and regeneration and feeding our vitality is absolutely essential to actually be able to bring something to yourself and the community. Most of us are fried. I know you're fried. I'm here too. It's happening to me too. So we need to come together to feed ourselves. And so we're going to be discerning and charting, honing and integrating. I've got all these different pieces, ways that we're going to sort of chart in a really fun, playful way, where you're at, what you need to feed more, what needs to be released. You know, this is conscious co-creation. So you'll know if you're called to this. Something in your body, in your energy field, will sparkle. You'll have watched this whole thing. You'll have watched this and you'll have said, there's something for me there. Now, you may not know what it is. That's the thing. In fact, you won't. Because some of the content I don't even know, because it's to be organic and fresh and evolving. And so they give me kind of the overall structure and some of the materials. But by the time we get to next fall, that's 14 lifetimes away. You know that. Look at how much the world is changing every day. So you'll know if you're called to this. And then also I'm going to do 2 different live play shops, hour-long play shops, for you to get a taste of it and for us to come together and play. And so the journey starts the end of January 2020, goes through beginning of October. And it's going to be amazing. Who is it? What's the dialogue you want in your life? And who do you want to play with? You got to give yourself permission to play. You got to activate access. And this course is completely designed to do that in the most magical way. So I'm going to, at the end of this, I'll show you, this is my metaphysical PhD. This was the Oracle of Initiation deck. I have 6 other decks that I've created also. And I'm going to, at the end of this video, add some photos from some of the projects over the last couple of years that we've done in Deep Play, just to give you a sense of how out of the box and interesting they are. And just sort of when you look at the pictures, imagine, what did they do here? Like, what were they learning? What called them to do these pieces? And what does this mean? And look at this, like she's got Simpsons cards with like a Dolly Parton card with, something else, strange things. But strange and the unknown is the access to the real magic. So I hope that you join us and at least come along and play for those 2, one in December, one in January, those play shops, those free online hour-long play shops. And reach out if you have any questions. If you're not sure and you're wanting to know a little bit more about it, what your planner, your structuralist, your person. I'm a type A mystic, so bring it. You know, if you need to talk to me a little more, find me on social media, Instagram specifically. And I really hope that you'll come play. Out of Left Field, Deep Play 2022, Divine Timing and Creative Manifestation. Mellissae, Lucia.